Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on that. Can you
search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week of Women to Watch. I'm Sue Rocco, and it's so great to be here on 6abc.com, bringing you stories of women who are leaders in their industries every week. If you'd like to learn more about the show and read a little bit more about our corporate partners who are a part of our watch team, feel free to go to womentowatch.net. That's women, the number 2, watch.net, N-E-T. And if you're a radio lover, we also are broadcasting on Sunday nights on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. So I'm very thrilled and honored to welcome to the show today Dr. Margo Weishar. Dr. Weishar has her own dermatology practice in Springhouse. Margo, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you finally. We've been talking about this for a long time.
We have.
Finally connected. So I'm thrilled to have you. I have to tell you, I've been doing this for 10 years. You are the first guest I've ever had that is a doctor/actress. Very unique. Yeah.
Yes, it's been a serious hobby, I would say, my entire life.
Yeah, so, I love that. Well, we'll be talking more about that. And actually, you know, to talk about your upbringing and a little bit about your family background says why you have that interest, I would say, both in science and creativity and theater. So tell me, first of all, your dad was a fine artist. Tell me about him and how much he did in his art world.
Sure. So I come from a family of artists. My dad was a fine artist. He went to Cooper Union, which is a school that you go to. You know, you have to be admitted because of your talent, and then the tuition is paid for. And then he went to Yale School of Art and Yale School of Drama, where he got an MFA in scenic design. So it was applied to the theater, and so I grew up around theater, from a very young age, and also the fact that he could draw beautifully. He was into the arts. My mother was also in art history. So, suffice it to say, we spent a lot of time going to museums, going to appreciate art. And although I have some artistic talent in drawing, I think what really impressed me is the ability to see shape and form and color is something that I've had with me my whole life.
So how far back do you remember also having an interest in science? Did that,
so I am the outlier in my family on science. I always loved science. I think I remember being in sleepaway camp. That's what we called it in New York. Here in Philly, it's overnight camp, and being fascinated with astronomy and going out and looking at the stars. And then I became fascinated in biology when I was in school. And then I became really, really interested in physics, and took several years of physics in high school. And I just loved the idea of learning how the world worked, understanding the science behind everyday occurrences. And it's really interesting to me because in my career now, I am surrounded by lasers, which are all based on physics. So I can go, crazily into becoming a science nerd when I'm talking to patients about how they work. But the fact that I get to use them every day, in my current work is really, it's really incredible.
Do you think you have, we talk on the show often about the right brain versus the left brain, and that really is about language, creativity, words, versus the other, which is the science and the numbers and the math. Would you say you're gifted in both that has allowed you to do it?
I think that I am very analytical, but I do think that there is a a right brain for science as well, where you can kind of see the big picture rather than somebody who, can break down problems into tiny, small amounts. I think it's actually what makes me very good at diagnostics, when I'm seeing a patient,
Right.
because I can kind of integrate the picture, which is a sort of a right brain function, but it has a left brain basis.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I have a quote here. You said, "I was fascinated by the ability to diagnose the patient as a whole by seeing what was on their skin."
Yes.
And, I don't think people truly understand that the skin is the largest organ that we have, and there's not enough attention paid to it with regard to our health. Talk about that a
So
little bit.
absolutely. So it was one of the reasons that attracted me to dermatology. So I was a medical student at University of Pennsylvania, and I was on rounds. That's what they call when groups of doctors go to see different patients in the hospital. And I was on the dermatology service as a student, and we went to see a patient that had been seen by many other doctors in the hospital, and no one knew what was going on with this patient. And he had a very, I won't describe it because it might be too much for
Much for the
the
viewers.
general audience, but let's just say he had a very, very obvious rash covering his body. And the doctor that was leading the team walked into the room and took one look at the patient and made a diagnosis, and he was correct. And all these other doctors had seen the patient, but they didn't know how to interpret the picture of what this patient had on their skin. And I thought
Mm.
that is the coolest thing ever, that he walked in there, he took one look, and because he knew the pattern and what to look for and all these sort of subtle findings, he was able to make the diagnosis where other people couldn't. And one of the things that you learn as a dermatologist is that you have to be able to see, because many of my colleagues in medicine, a rash is a rash. It's red, it's bumpy or whatever. But to a dermatologist, it's salmon colored, or it's violet, or it's, pink, or, you have to be able to see those gradations when you look at a patient in order to do the job.
Wow. Yeah.
Just like an orthopedist has to know like mechanics and, kind of carpentry, if you will, or an eye doctor is like a watchmaker, with the teeny tiny structures. Dermatology is all about seeing color and pattern and shape, and then relating that to the underlying, physiology of what's happening.
Right. Talk to me a little bit about your younger years as a young girl growing up in school. The people would say girls don't typically go into science, and it's underrepresented. Did Were you fully confident in yourself that this was my interest, this is the direction I'm going? And if so, how did you do that?
Well, as far as being in school and being in science, yes, I was fully confident because I was just very good at it and I got good feedback, and I luckily had teachers who served as mentors, and I didn't really realize there was a difference. In fact, I had another student in my class who would always score extremely highly on all the science tests. So my goal all the time was to beat him. And I did
I
many
like
times.
that. I like that.
So, and I have to say that colleague of mine is now a dermatologist, so I think that's very ironic. Um, but when I went to college, I did not know I was going to go into medicine. So I was very open to other fields of study and history and humanities, and I ended up finding my way into medicine because I became a psychology major, and I was
Wow.
actually doing studies on right left brain, which is funny that you kind of brought that up. And after kind of getting deeper and deeper into that, the science of thought, the science of cognition, that I decided that having a medical degree was going to enable me to go, in that direction.
Mm.
When I finally graduated, it wasn't until I got to medical school that I knew anything about dermatology. I never considered it. And there was another student that was a few years older than I, who was going into dermatology. And she said, I'd really seriously suggest taking an elective in this. It's a great field. And I did, and I just got sucked in. I'm like, this combines so many of the things that I love and also uses my strengths in somebody who has a visual art kind of brain and background to bring to medicine. And then the more I got into dermatology, the more I realized what an all-encompassing field that can be, because you can be in skin cancer, you can be in immunology, you can do procedural, surgical things, you can do what I do a lot of right now, which is cosmetic dermatology, but I have kind of done all those different things over my career. So it's very broad.
It is. It is. I think about you have significant education. You went to Yale, you went to University of Penn, you went to Tufts, you did a second residency at Weill Cornell. What was the most challenging for you in school?
Oh, I mean, probably the most physically challenging was the fact that I did an entire internal medicine residency. So that meant that was my time at Tufts. So when I finished my medical school, I actually first went into internal medicine. And so we were taking care of the sickest patients in the hospital, and we were there every third night, all night long. So that was a very challenging couple of years. But what it did do for me later on was gave me a grounding again in the whole patient, in understanding, not just what a dermatologist knows, but everything an internist knows as well. I am board certified in internal medicine as well. It was very hard years, but I think it gave me a foundation that I couldn't have gotten anywhere else.
And you must enjoy schooling, because during COVID, you decided to go to graduate school. Why not?
I did. So my love of theater my whole life, and I've done acting, I've done directing, I've gotten to the point of being an understudy in some professional theaters. That's kind of the highest level I've achieved, if you will. And then when COVID came along and everything stopped, I was about to direct a play, and of course that got pushed out another year and a half. I eventually did get to do it, but I decided what would I want to do with this enforced time that we had. So I applied to theater graduate school at Villanova and was accepted. And so I've been going to school now for 2 years. And interestingly, sort of combined my two lives. Last semester, I took a course in playwriting, and I wrote a play based on the life of Elizabeth Blackwell, who is the first woman to graduate from medical school in the United States.
Wow. Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
So we'll see where that goes. It's still in its infancy, but I learned a lot about this woman, and she was a badass.
Wow.
So
That's often we'll talk about, what do you do to decompress when you're not working in your professional career? And what a beautiful outlet for you, right? To be doing that and really kind of taking your mind to another place, away from the practice, which, by the way, you have a very large practice, very successful, and you manage a lot of staff. Is that something you have bigger aspirations for down the road?
Well, we're always growing. We moved to a bigger location about 4 years ago now, so we doubled our size. And I feel one of the things I do really love about running a business is kind of trying to be a mentor for young women who are looking to go into the healthcare fields. I've had a lot of women come as interns over the summer and then come back and eventually go on to PA school or nursing or medical school. And I really like showing them what a woman-run business can be like, and that we're very supportive and try and both have a really fun time working with each other while we're also working very hard and
Right.
producing, hopefully an excellent experience for our patients. But I find that I really do like that role of mentoring and young people who are excited about starting their careers.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just the people I know, but I see more and more young women going into the field.
For sure. I mean, in all kinds of ways, again,
Right.
through, not just through medicine, which is, of course, a very long road, but there's also other, entries into the field with physician associates and nurse practitioners and estheticians. So there are a lot of different ways that you can get involved with this field if you have an interest and a passion for it.
Tell me what your own philosophy is for having such a wonderful culture at your practice. It's all women, if I'm correct, right?
It is all women.
All women. So what is it
Yes.
that you do that makes it such a welcoming and light environment?
Well, first I say leave all the drama on the stage. so,
That right.
I really don't encourage a culture of that at all, and I try and be very. I'm very, I would say, open to people. I hope I'm very approachable, and I'm always interested in trying to find out what their goals are. If they're doing this job, what are they looking for the future? Is this the job they want to stay in forever, or what things are going to excite them? Because I think that's, somebody once told me, when you have good people, you have to be interested in what their next step is, what their goals are. And sometimes that may mean that they will leave you at some point, but they said you want to be a good place to be from, so that the experience that they get and the example that they see set is something that they will then be able to replicate later on in other jobs and look for in other jobs.
That is so true. I feel as though if an employee feels that their boss cares about them outside of the work they're producing, they're going to do a much better job anyway. So it's really important to verbalize that, I think, to them.
Yeah. I everybody has something that makes them tick. And I think it's important. And some people are perfectly happy in their position and they're not looking, and that's great. We need those people too. But I think it's just important to sort of check in with each person.
Yeah. We're going to go into our first break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about you as a mother and a little bit more of the science.
Absolutely.
Stay with us for our watch team if you're listening on radio, and we'll be right back.
At Action News, we cherish every moment, and it's our profound responsibility to bring you closer to your world. Never miss a moment. Trust the people at Action News.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
In Philadelphia, we celebrated the miracle with pride only 5 years ago. And then the following morning, IBEW Local 98 members went back to work, building this city, rescuing our communities from decay, and inspiring the young men and women of the region to take pride in who we are. Like the Cats, Local 98 members believe in hope.
To learn more about who we are, what we do, and career opportunities with Local 98, visit us, ibew98.org.
All right, did you know I was the mommy slam dunk champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake a mom. Mama, go up, up, up.
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. I'm Sue Rocco, and you're watching Women to Watch. And I'm joined this week with Dr. Margo Weishar. And she's the founder of Springhouse Dermatology, a very, very successful dermatology practice. You're also an award-winning dermatologist. Before I get into, I always want to talk about motherhood, if it's another role you play outside of being a doctor. And but tell me what it means to you when you're recognized for your work, the awards and accolades. How does that make you feel?
It is certainly lovely, especially coming from a local paper, because that is something that my patients will see, and it is a great way that patients do get introduced to the practice. I feel like I do get recognized on a daily basis by individually, but certainly it's nice to hear that publicly as well.
Yeah, your patients, right? They thank God for you every day. Yes. So you're a mother. I believe you have 3 children?
I do.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about them. And I want to ask you what, when we think about the world we sit and live in today, post-COVID, and there's just a lot of unrest. What worries you the most when you think about their future?
So my children are all young adults. I have a son and I have identical twin daughters.
Wow.
And so they're all out in the world as working people now and in different fields. None of them pursued medicine, which is fine.
Any creatives? Are any of them creative, like grandparents?
Yes, my daughter is a photographer. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And so my other daughter is actually a musician as well as a software engineer. So they definitely got the talent.
Right.
So I think that they graduated into a recession. And then, just as their generation was kind of getting started with their careers, COVID happened. And although most of them worked from home throughout COVID, I just worry that this generation has had a lot of difficulties to deal with just getting out of the gate, if you will.
Yes,
And
yes.
even though, they all had good jobs and work during COVID, the sort of lack of community and being at home for, over a year, I think it's really hard on young people. So, I know every generation has its challenges,
Right.
but I feel like they've got caught, a bit, and hopefully they'll, things will ease up for that group going forward.
Yeah. We talk about, sometimes the young children, I think, end up being more resilient. The little ones were not able to go to school and everyone was concerned about them. But I think that they adapt easier than perhaps teenagers and adults, that all of a sudden the world has changed.
Yeah. I mean, certainly it's been challenging for everybody at every level. But as far as, their cohort of friends and, people their age, I just think that it's a very social age, and, they've been artificially put into their own little bunkers. They're
Right,
just
exactly.
starting to come out.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your practice and what is new and exciting. You had mentioned laser in the first segment, and I put out a post to our viewers, and what kind of questions would you want to ask a successful dermatologist? One of the things that comes up over and over again, especially for women who are in our second half, is biotin versus collagen versus does it work? Do you do both? What can you tell us about that, and whether we should even be, wasting our money in all of that?
So I don't think that there's enough evidence, scientific evidence, to support going all in on collagen supplementation and or biotin supplementation. Biotin certainly has been around longer than the kind of edible collagen craze that we've had. The evidence is very minimal. So, there are so many other ways that I would say that, if you are somebody who wants to promote good skin health and maintain the health of your skin, to put your energies into that have a much higher payoff. So, time and money and all of that much better spent on getting a great sunscreen that you will use every single day of your life, because we know that ultraviolet breaks down your DNA, that causes skin cancer. Actually, just a little aside, I was with a group of women this weekend, and we were kind of just chatting about things, and I was the only one in this group that hadn't had multiple skin cancers already. So I was like, oh, why is that? So, the truth is, like, even if you don't do it for skin cancer prevention, even if it's just about vanity, wearing a good sunscreen every day is going to preserve your skin. It's going to preserve it in health and wellness. And so I'd much prefer people put their efforts into finding something, that they can use, rather than worrying about ingesting collagen.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking, whenever I think of sunscreen, I think, especially as an Irish girl, very fair. And the fact that growing up, we did not have the full knowledge of how dangerous it was. We were truly out in the sun without the sunscreen and the protection, and how much of the damage is done versus it's never too late to protect.
It's never too late. Never too late. But, having risk factors, having fair skin, having had burns, all of that means that you need to be more vigilant now, because even if you have a perfect record from here on, it's not going to prevent you from showing up with something, because we know that it takes many, many, many years for these skin cancers to form, or pre-cancers to form. So even if you decide at some point in your life you're really going to be really good about your sun protection, if you have risk factors, we still need to keep a good surveillance of your skin. But there are things that we can do that can help reverse sun damage. There are topical things that can help. There are procedures that we can do in the office that can help reverse sun damage. So, it's not irrevocable. I mean, some of it may be, but you can certainly improve the situation if that's something you want to do.
It makes me think about the balance. So you do a lot of cosmetic, and of course we want to look our best. And how do you find the balance between using what's available in order to present ourselves the best way we can, and not feeling a little shallow that we're doing things that are so physical?
Well, so a couple of things I want to say about that. I think the attitudes have definitely evolved quite a bit over the course of my career. I don't think there's anybody on earth who doesn't want to look a little more beautiful.
Right.
We all do. I mean, I'm never going to be a supermodel, but if somebody says I could do this and feel a little bit more beautiful, that's fine. In our society, we do, our health, our happiness, our perception of each other can also change when people look a little bit more rested, a little happier. We can tell the human brain is programmed for, picking those little subtle things up. Example, I was at a conference where we were learning advanced techniques, and they flashed on the screen a face, and they just asked, is this a beautiful face? And, it was like a model. So, everybody raised their hand. And then they said, this was flashed on the screen for 1/1000th of a second. So that's how fast your brain can process beauty. So, I think it's something that is innate in how we perceive each other. And so I feel like if you have the right expectations, you're not going to, I never want to transform somebody into something that they're not. But if you take and you look at what age has taken away from somebody and you say, I can bring that back or partially bring that back for you in a safe and effective procedure, I'll sign me up. I'll do that. I mean, I want to preserve my looks as long as I can without doing anything crazy.
Right.
And yeah, okay, there are people that cross the line. We've seen them, we've read about them, you've seen celebrities that certainly do way too much. And we do try and filter out people who have unrealistic expectations or are really trying to do things that would alter their appearance substantially. So, I mean, that's part of my consultation process and getting to know people, making sure that what I can provide for them aligns with what they're looking for, and what they're looking for aligns with my values as well.
Right. Yes.
So.
And so often it's about matching what we feel inside with the exterior, because I think no matter how old we become, we still feel young inside. That's a
Absolutely.
psychology, statement, don't you think?
Absolutely. And I see it, the confidence that it gives people. And I know that's a real thing. People look in the mirror and they're like, oh, wow, I look great. And you know that people who are confident are more likely, if they've studied this, to interact with people, to be more social, to seek out social environments. So that's a real thing. That's not just being vain. That's feeling good about who you are and how you present yourself. I mean, just the way you'd pick out a beautiful blue blouse, because it makes you feel good, it makes you look good.
Yes.
What we wear, how we look, how we do our hair, what we choose for, our accessories, that's a statement that we're making about ourselves to the world, and we're doing it all the time.
Yeah.
So if it helps people to feel more confident and more about the way they want to look, I think that is very gratifying. It's very gratifying work to do.
Yeah, just as we care about things around us to look us, we're visual people, and we take great care of our home, and anything that's aesthetically beautiful, you want it to be appealing to the eye. I was curious to know how your practice has been post-COVID. Have you seen an increase in, everybody was kind of stuck at home for a long period of time, and now they're out and about.
Yeah. So for a while there was what they call the Zoom boom, because I think somebody statistically said that when you're on Zoom, like, you spend 90% of the time looking at your own face. So people are examining themselves in a way that, we weren't when we were just going out and going to a meeting, someone else was looking at us. Now we're staring at ourselves. So there was certainly that scrutiny. I mean, I never used to hear this before. It's like, oh, I've been looking at my chin or my wrinkles, or we got to do something about it. So there's certainly that aspect to it. There was certainly, as I've been doing this for almost 30 years. And I used to say, like, I could tell, like, I knew which weeks of the year was going to be a little slow, when it was going to get busy. And like with COVID, everything has changed, because it does ebb and flow. When Omicron hit around the holidays, which is usually very busy, so we're kind of like riding this, COVID wave up and down, when people are back to going out again and doing things. And of course they want to come in and, look their best. And when things shut down temporarily, we see a little lull. So
yeah,
everything, we're just like trying to
we're evolving. Yeah, we're evolving.
Yeah,
running a practice is a lot of responsibility. It's also really stressful. Do you have a daily mantra? The days when everything is flowing and wonderful, that's one thing. The days when, you have things to worry about, what is your go-to mantra to move through those times?
Ooh, I wish I had one. Maybe I do need one. um, Luckily, there are more of the good days than the bad days, but certainly any business owner, you encounter those days. I guess I just try and focus on the work that I need to do, because that is so engaging that even if I have something on my mind, something else is going wrong. When I have a patient sitting in front of me, I want to be 100% focused on them. So in a way, any kind of procedure, I'm doing surgery, they talk about flow.
Yeah, you're right. So your work
Right?
takes you out of your mind, because then
Exactly. So if I focus on what I have to do, then I can just bring it home and then get mad afterward.
We only have a few minutes left. Is there any advancements that you're excited about? Anything that, I know that you're continually seeking more education and wanting to learn more in the field.
I say that as long as we've used injectable fillers, that whole approach to using them has really changed. So my focus and the techniques that I'm using now are more about correcting where the aging process is coming from, rather than the end result of the aging process. So in essence, when people come and say, I don't like this line, I show them why that line has formed, and I'm able to now use these substances that we have that are safe and effective in different ways to address that. And I think that's really exciting, because we've gotten away from just like pasting a Band-Aid over something to actually getting at the source and using them in a more sophisticated way. So that's been very exciting and artistic, and really you need an artistic view of the whole. We're talking about faces, but with 3-dimensional and so forth. So I find that very exciting. And of course, lasers are endlessly interesting, because there are so many different applications that we can use them for. And we've come a long way from things that required downtime of a week or so to a couple of days to 0. So there've been there's always technological advancements that are being applied to skin.
Yeah, I think that the lasers are something that I think we assume have not been around that long. But my guess is, there's always something in medicine that has actually been developed or created a long time ago, and then it gets to the public.
The first laser that was used for skin was actually, I was doing research at Harvard at the Wellman Labs, and this is in the 1980s. And the first laser were what they call pulsed dye lasers that are targeted at red spots. So say port wine stains, which are those birthmarks that are kind of purple, red. So that was sort of the first application of laser to skin. And so again, that was back in the 80s.
Yeah, wow. That was a long time ago. Well, listen, keep up the good work. You're making women very happy, but you're also saving lives, diagnosing skin cancers, which seem to be on the rise.
A lot of what we do.
Yeah. And I thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share your story.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
this is so much fun.
Great. We're going to go into a break. When we come back, we're going to be with our Lifestyle Watch contributor, Sherry Morrison. She's going to be with a woman who owns a kombucha brewery in Phoenixville. We'll be right back.
Action News at 11 with Rick Williams. It's the team you trust to bring it all together. The stories that impact your community, a sports roundup for the locals, and the AccuWeather forecast you depend on. Action News at 11 with Rick Williams.
All right, did you know I was the Mommy Slam Dunk Champion?
Really?
Yes, really don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake 'em out. Mama, go up,
She did it.
Again? You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. We're joined by our wonderful weekly Lifestyle Watch contributor, Sherry Morrison, and she's going to be profiling Olga Sorzano. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The owner of Baba's Brew Kombucha. I knew I had to read it or I was going to fumble over it. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thanks, Sue. Yes, as Sue said,
Thank
today
you,
I'm in Phoenixville, PA at Baba's Brew Kombucha with founder, CEO, brewmaster, and entrepreneur, Olga Sorzano. Thank you for inviting us to visit today, Olga.
Thank you for coming over. That's such a pleasure and big honor.
So Olga has an incredible story. So I want to start off with where you're from, Olga, and how you ended up here in the USA.
Well, how long do you have? I was born in Southern Siberia, Russia, and I came to United States as exchange student in 2000, so 22 years ago.
Okay, so now you're a doctor with a degree in veterinary medicine. You're a chef, graduated of Walnut Hill College in Philadelphia. You were a very successful private chef. In 2013, you were the #1 private chef in the Philadelphia surrounding area. You're married, have 2 young daughters, and now you have a lovely 8,000 square foot kombucha factory in Phoenixville, PA. When did you have this kombucha light bulb moment?
Well, I grew up drinking kombucha. So Baba, it means grandmother in Russian. So, my great grandmother, she been brewing kombucha all the time. I remember her. So she would, I would come to her and I would say, Baba, my belly hurts. And she would say, have some kombucha. And I would say, my leg hurts. And she would say, have some kombucha. So it was just kind of remedy. So I used to drink the kombucha. And not only it was, good for you, which I had no idea when I was a child, but, remember, I grew up in the Soviet Russia, so we didn't really have a Gatorade or Pepsi or other stuff to begin with. So it was just something nice and pleasant to drink. And Baba would throw some berries sometimes and herbs. And so it was just really wonderful. So when I came to the United States, I was extremely pleased to find a bottle of kombucha. Unfortunately, when I took a sip, it wasn't just what I remembered. It's like I was telling Sherry, it's like, your favorite grandma's soup, it's like, and then you go and try some, like, I don't think so. So I was just kind of craving for that, flavor, that taste that I remember. So I was brewing it on and off by myself. I always had little scobies sitting, in the jar. And then 7 years ago, my husband had his kind of midlife crisis and, he kind of quit his job and we were starting to think, what we should do. And since I really haven't done anything but, food related things, so I just kind of jokingly said, maybe we should brew kombucha after visiting Fermentation Festival in Santa Barbara, California. And so he said nothing. nothing. So, which is not surprising because, I'm usually full of those glorious ideas on a daily basis. So, when we got home, several weeks later, he came up with a big folder, and I'm like, what's that? And he's like, well, you want to start kombucha. That's a business plan. So Guy actually did the business plan and did the market research and, price analysis and everything else. And that's how we kind of started. So originally we started in 70 square feet. And I'm just still not very good with feet measurements. So when I called them up and they said, well, we don't really have much, it's just 70 square feet. I'm like, that sounds great. So we came to check it out. And I was like, wow, that sounds like, it looks like a little smaller than my closet. But it was a good start. I'm glad to do this. We were brewing, we started to brew our kombucha in 5-gallon jars. And then, we just kind of started to sell our kombucha at the Phoenixville Farmers Market first. And then Kimberton Whole Foods, they picked up our brand. And so little by little, a year later, we were able to move to our current location. It was a little bit too big for us. But, I was happily moved from 70 square feet to 8,000 square feet.
Wow.
And then from brewing in 5-gallon jars, we were brewing in 500-gallon jars, and then currently we brew in 2,000 liters stainless steel tanks.
Wow, they're big tanks, and I'm very happy to be in this atmosphere, having had a soup company, working at a winery, and being around all of these different manufacturing plants that use the tanks. It feels like home for me. So the nutritional value of kombucha is very impressive, much better than soda. It has probiotics, live enzymes, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals. It's great for your gut and digestion. It's great for you overall. As Olga just mentioned, just ask Baba. That's what she'll say. Go to the kombucha. So it's the elixir of life. And SCOBY is an acronym for symbiotic, I'm going to read this, symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. And it metabolizes the sugar, which you need to create fermentation. Semen, wine, beer, sourdough bread, a lot of different products that people just aren't aware use this fermentation process. So it's so much less in sugar. And has so many other nutritional benefits to it. Do you want to? So looking at the bottle and looking at your website, it's 100% raw. It's 100% vegan. It's 100% gluten-free, 100% fair trade, organic ingredients. All of these things, which a lot of people don't know unless they're in manufacturing. To be able to say that on a bottle or a label, you need to get certification. You have to go through government paperwork and everything. It all costs a lot of money. So it's a lot to go through so people understand what your product really is and so that it's true. It's truth and label. So do you want to tell us a little bit about those stages you went through and the nutritional value of the soda? I'll show you, or the kombucha. It's not soda. So here, I'm not going to put this on screen. Here's a bottle. This is called Believe. Olga, tell us a little bit about the Believe, because it's a Greek Philadelphia story.
Well, this is not Believe. This is the blue pineapple.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Picked up the wrong green bottle.
I picked up the wrong green bottle.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Believe. It's a green one.
Believe is the green one. So the Believe has a really cute story. When we found out that Eagles were going to Super Bowl, and, I looked around and everybody made something silly green bagels, green pancakes, green, cream cheese, you name it. So we decided we're going to just keep it up and we're going to make a silly green thing too. So we made a green kombucha. And we call it Fly Eagles Fly, of course. And so we completely sold out, and we just, we were super happy, and we were super happy for Eagles. And, Eagles didn't win, but it was a huge deal. And, people started to come back and say, you know what, it's great, but we would love to, keep seeing this. Like, you need to make this stuff. And so we kept more, and we call it Believe. So we believe Eagles will do it again. And so this is one of our, best sellers. So beside the cute story, Believe is really fantastic because it has chlorophyll. And as you know, the chlorophyll is the pigment that gives green color to the plants. And this is what makes the membrane of any kind of cells, really nice and strong. So it's just really, really great for your body as well. And as Sherry said, all our kombucha is very, very low in calories. It's about 35 calories and 4 to 5 grams of sugar per bottle. Our kombucha is raw. Meaning that it has all the lives. We don't pasteurize our kombucha, so all those bacteria and probiotics and enzymes, they're all live. So you get, full benefits, just like you would get from non-pasteurized yogurt or other fermented products. And sometimes like when I post something saying like gluten-free, and then some people would say, duh, of course it's gluten-free. But then you get email like, is your kombucha gluten-free? So, there is sometimes, yes, the people who know the process, they will understand. And I believe that, gluten-free sometimes being overused. I mean, we know apples are gluten-free, thank you. But, for kombucha, it's just a little bit still this kind of like a unicorn of the beverages. So I just try to educate and provide as much information as I possibly can.
Can I ask a question? I just wanted to know, can it be non-carbonated?
It can be. So naturally, kombucha just slightly carbonated. So during fermentation process, so we start with the sweet tea. So we just, buy all organic, fair trade teas, and we use blend of black and green tea. So we brew it just like you would brew for your cup of tea, just much bigger. Then we add sugar. And again, sugar is needed for fermentation process to start. A lot of people say, well, like I buy sugar-free kombucha. It's not possible. Sugar is needed to feed the bacteria. And then during the process, the bacteria break down sugar to beneficial acids and byproduct of CO2. So it's very, very small amount of CO2. So if you, if you want flat kombucha, you can just drink it as it is. What we do during secondary fermentation, we add ingredients to infuse. So we add fruits and herbs and spices. We don't use no juices, no extracts. So you get additional benefits from those ingredients. And this is when it's happened to enclosed vessel. What's happened, all this byproduct of CO2 is being trapped, and kombucha is becoming slightly carbonated. What we do, because we work with big chains like Whole Foods and Wegmans, and they do expect kombucha to be more or less kind of consistent. So what we do, we also force carbonate it to the certain level. But our carbonation is slightly different. Our carb stones are very fine. So it's more like you can taste it more like, like sometimes you drink carbonated beverage, it just kind of like hits you in the face. Our kombucha, we call it like champagne. It's bubbles are very, very tiny. So it like tickles your tongue versus just, punch you in the face. And most people love it. And if you don't, it's easy. You can just, keep it open and, it will be flat.
So you're available in Wegmans, Whole Foods, Kimberton Whole Foods, and a host of other stores, a few Giants and other locations, grocery stores. For more information on Baba's Brew, go to the website at the bottom of the page, babasbrew.com. Olga, thank you so much for sharing your fantastic story. I know we have a lot to cover. I think I'm going to have you back another time so we can talk more.
Well, I was hoping Sue would ask me what's my motto.
What is your motto?
Good motto. Everybody needs to keep calm.
So I hope you'll all join me next week when we meet Natanya DeBono, the woman behind the organization of Dinner en Blanc in Philadelphia. It's the largest dinner of its kind in the U.S. In Philadelphia, we usually have about over 5,000 guests. So it's taking place this year, August 18th. Tickets will go on sale July 6th. But thank you again, Olga. I really appreciate all of your time. Thank you, ladies, and keep dreaming your dreams. Sue, back to you.
Thanks, Sherry. Olga, it's great to meet you. Great segment. Thank you. We're going to go into our last break, and we'll be back.
Action News, we cherish every moment, and it's our profound responsibility to bring you closer to your world. Never miss a moment. Trust the people at Action News.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
In Philadelphia, we celebrated the miracle with pride only 5 years ago. And then the following morning, IBEW Local 98 members went back to work, building this city, rescuing our communities from decay, and inspiring the young men and women of the region to take pride in who we are. Like the Cats, Local 98 members believe in hope.
To learn more about who we are, what we do, and career opportunities with Local 98, visit us, IBEW98.org.
All right, did you know I was the Mommy Slam Dunk Champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, I go to left, fake a mom. Mama, go up, mama!
She did it.
Again? You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh. Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
That's it, everyone, for another week of Women to Watch. Thanks so much for being here. And stay tuned next week for my interview with Prachi Modi. Prachi is the CEO of Morocco 3 Ventures. Thanks always to our corporate partners and Watch team for helping us to bring you the show each week. And have a great week.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.